So it's great to see you all. For those I don't know, my name is Landon Rank. I am the Director of Programs at SB ACT, and we are the coordinators of the Act on Homelessness Collaborative, which is kind of our South County-wide homelessness coalition, working with the cities of Carpinteria, Goleta, and Santa Barbara, as well as the county to try to address homelessness throughout the whole region. We're going to be talking about quite a bit today, and it will be, frankly, a lot of me talking. So strap in, and I encourage you do whatever you need to do to stay engaged. I will be taking lots of pauses so that we can have some conversation. So I encourage you to write down questions or comments or thoughts as you go. Um, I'd love if people would be willing to introduce themselves in the chat. If you want to just write your name, and if you're with an organization, it'd be great to know kind of who's here. And then I did mention this already. I'm going to put it in the chat again, but this survey here, I would love to have as many of you fill this out as possible. It's a quick survey just to give us a sense of kind of where people are region-wise in South County, as well as kind of what you're most interested to talk about today, so that I can sort of tailor our discussion accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and give everybody a minute to fill that out if you haven't already, and then we'll go ahead and move on. And we have some new folks just joining, so I'm going to put that link in the chat one more time. I can hear people typing. We'll give it maybe one more minute. And I would encourage you to mute yourself if you're not already muted. All right, everybody. You're welcome to keep filling out the survey if you are still working on it, but I am just going to quickly share the results just so we can see a little bit of what we are comprised of today. So it looks like we've got a lot of people from the city of Santa Barbara, or a handful of people from the city of Santa Barbara primarily. Some folks that work outside of the city in Goleta and Nolita as well. Questions about there being more homelessness, how the appointment only model at Faro has impacted dozens of people experiencing homelessness, and then any local funding for emergency housing vouchers. These are great questions. These are all things we were hoping to discuss today anyway. If you have more, of course, you can type questions in the chat as we go, but this helps me just to think ahead a little bit. So I'm going to put my screen back up. So I like to start these meetings just because this is kind of the most basic question that a lot of people want to know the answer to. So I want to just get this out of the way right up front, which is what to do if you see someone experiencing homelessness in your community. So each city has a different reporting mechanism. And to be clear, these are not like, this is not getting people in trouble. This is how you actually can get them connected to services, one of the easiest ways. So if you have someone who, apologies, I don't know why it's skipping ahead. You have somebody that you see an encampment, or if you see someone who might be in need of help, or if you see just trash piles, whatever it might be, there are different contacts for each city as well as for unincorporated county land. So I encourage you for your specific region to take advantage of those resources. and those contacts that are listed here. Happy to go more into this later, and we will review this again at the end. As I mentioned as well, this will be recorded to our YouTube channel. So if you're wondering about the slides, you'll be able to revisit them there. All right, so I want to give a brief overview of everything really quickly. We do this at the beginning of most of our all-call meetings. So for some of you, many of you, this could be old hat. I won't take too long on this, I promise. But I do just want to share that while I'm a part of this kind of South County-wide coalition, there are also initiatives happening at the county-wide level as well as the city-wide level. So we have kind of three different tiers of homelessness response happening. And so just to go back to the county, we have our Santa Barbara County Continuum of Care, which is a designation by the federal government Housing and Urban Development Department. So our continuum of care is comprised of all the different homeless services providers and government agencies throughout our region. There is a website listed here if you want to learn more specifically about our continuum of care. But I did want to just mention a couple of things. I do see we have Catherine on the call. I don't know, Catherine, if I can put you on the spot a little bit just to talk about the COC. And if not, I'm happy to cover it. But since you're here.
Hello. I mean, I will let you do your spiel, and then I'm here for any assisted question, follow-up if needed, or anything specific to encampments.
That's fair. All right. So with our continuum of care is really focused on a lot of different aspects of our homelessness response system. All the funding that comes through the federal government and the state largely passes through our continuum of care. Um, I apologize. I'm gonna probably have to fix this slide skipping issue. Um, they are coordinating all of us throughout the county on a regular basis and helping with accountability throughout the region. They also host our coordinated entry system. This is kind of our way that we make sure that wherever someone experiencing homelessness goes, they can always get connected into our homelessness system so that they're always getting that quality of services they need so that they can hopefully move forward towards housing. And that all goes through what's called the Homelessness Management Information System, HMIS. So you may hear us use that acronym again today, but that's where we have kind of our countywide database of everyone experiencing homelessness and their status and kind of what they need next to move forward. So this is all under that countywide continuum of care. The continuum of care has a community action plan as well as some 5-year goals. So there is really a strategic plan happening to try to address homelessness at a very broad level in Santa Barbara County. So we're grateful for their leadership. And you'll see as we talk today that there are some tough things happening at largely the federal level. And so that's going to impact all of us throughout the county. It's not only impacting homelessness, of course, but it definitely is impacting homelessness. So that's going to come up as we talk about sort of our countywide system today. So that's sort of the county level. The next level down is what I'm really focused on, what this meeting is focused on, which is the South County-wide level, where we have our Act on Homelessness Collaborative. So this is the coalition that extends from Carpinteria through Goleta and Isla Vista. And it's with all three of the cities here, as well as our county staff and all the homeless services providers. So we're going to really dig deep into that South County-wide coalition today. And then lastly, I just want to mention again, at the city level, we have quite a bit going on. Each city has their own kind of response mechanism for addressing homelessness issues. The cities of Goleta and Santa Barbara have their own kind of strategic plans as well, specific to homelessness. And then the county has their own response mechanism via Catherine and other staff, which is that email address right there. Catherine, I don't know if you want to say more about sort of encampment response in the unincorporated lands.
Yeah, and it really doesn't even have to be within the county. If you're unsure, you can always just email there to the ER@countyofsb.org. And then I do work with our partners to pass along any outreach or encampment related needs. Or if it is a private property, then I work with sheriff to get a hold of those appropriate owners to facilitate any type of removal if needed.
So again, encourage you to utilize these resources. This is really one of the easiest ways for us to help figure out where people are and get them connected to services, is if you as community members help report when you see someone in need.
Hmm.
All right. So, okay, I need to pause because we got to fix this slide skipping. This is going to be a pain for everybody. So give me one moment to fix this real quick. Okay, I think I've got it, but we will find out very shortly. Let me make sure that my screen is back sharing. And we're back. Okay. So I also just want to briefly touch on a couple of big changes at the city level within the city of Santa Barbara. So I think many of us have seen headlines throughout the year about different changes happening at two different locations. One being 816 Cacique Street, which has been PATH Shelter in Santa Barbara, an emergency shelter. And then 621 Chapala Street, or the Faro Center, which has been a daytime navigation center for people experiencing homelessness. So we'll start with the 816 Cacique Street. So that is currently actually transitioning to a new organization called Mercy House. They are throughout Southern California, operating in LA County, in Orange County, in Bakersfield, or Kern County, excuse me, among others. And they operate various shelters and interim housing projects throughout those areas. So they are currently transitioning in. They are there with PATH staff and sort of working to make sure that they can keep serving the clients that are already there. And they will be serving on an interim basis for now. So it's a 6-month contract that would extend, I believe, through June, at which point the city of Santa Barbara will be appointing a permanent provider. It may or may not be Mercy House at that point. So this is very fresh. They are just kind of getting their feet wet in this community. I believe the city of Santa Barbara staff have let us know they will be hosting an Eastside resident meeting, I think in person, shortly in the new year, to really get the Mercy House staff acquainted with Eastsiders. And so we can begin talking about kind of what's next for that neighborhood. Any questions to the extent that I'm able to answer it? I see Councilmember Santa Maria on the call as well, so she may be able to answer more than I can as well. But any questions about this while we're here? Okay. And then as regards 621 Chapala Street, so again, this is not a shelter. This is the Daytime Navigation Center. But the city did change that this is moved from being a drop-in center to an appointment or referral only center. So since August, clients have been making appointments to be able to come to the center, or they can be referred by a service provider, a city staff member, et cetera. And so it has decreased the number of people coming in and out. It went from about 65 people a day to about 25 people a day. So it's certainly much quieter, but I'd say still quite a few people getting services and help. So it's interesting to see. I think it does sort of raise the threshold for what someone is required to do. And so you're getting people that are maybe in a better position to be able to make their own appointments that are the ones that are currently coming in the doors. Whereas some of the people who maybe are not in that position are not coming to the Faro Center at this point. So the city has said they're still hopeful that they will be able to create some more opportunities that are lower barrier, since there is a barrier that is presented with this appointment model. So we'll wait to see kind of what that could look like. But in the meantime, people are still continuing to be served at the center. The big change forthcoming is that the city staff has recommended that CityNet will be taking over the sublease of the property and running the space moving forward. So that's going before the Santa Barbara City Council tomorrow for them to vote on. And so we will wait and see. There will be some transition in store potentially. If you are familiar with this kind of ongoing, this is a 3-year lease that started in 2024. So this will be for one more year through February 2027. And then we're not sure what's next after that. It's not clear or it's not, I should say, there's no guarantee that the center will continue to be leased by the city of Santa Barbara, but we'll see what comes after that. So a lot kind of in the air in flux right now. I can talk to folks more about this like in depth afterwards, but any immediate questions right now? Okay. All right, well, stay tuned. Watch the news this week. There will definitely be some updates to share. Any other general comments or questions before we move on? Okay. So I also just want to make a quick plug at the beginning of our meeting today for all of the upcoming events. This is a busy time of year, and there's a couple of really exciting things happening, a couple of powerful things happening, but things I'd encourage everyone to check out. So we do have our regular East Side homelessness meeting that happens every 2 weeks. We haven't had one for a while due to the holiday. And so the next one will be this Friday at 10 a.m. on Zoom. Encourage you to check that out, especially if you're interested in homelessness comings and goings in that neighborhood. And then, oh, I see we did get an update from Councilmember Santa Maria in the chat. I apologize for missing that. So it looks
No
like
worries, I just added that in. Yeah, well, we're gonna have that meeting for the transition to Mercy House and then discuss other topics in the early in the year. But staff is just still working on the date and venue. Apologize for that. I was driving, couldn't.
No, you're good.
But
Appreciate
yes,
you not.
no worries. Yeah, no, we want to make it in the evening and ideally bilingual so that folks are able to attend and participate. So we will be sending out a notice as soon as staff solidifies the details of venue and location or in the time.
Thank you. All right, so back to the calendar then. So if you're interested in attending that Eastside meeting or any of our other RAP meetings for the other neighborhoods throughout South County, you can visit the website that I've put in the chat. And then I also just briefly want to mention we have a couple of groundbreakings coming up.
I said yes.
And so I don't know, Pat, if you, or I guess this is not your realm. These are county housing authority projects that will be opening with units specifically for people who are formerly homeless. In some cases, it's families. In some cases, it's seniors. And it's just, again, providing a lot more needed units in our community. So I encourage you to attend. It's really nice to really be able to celebrate the wins when we have them. And these are two big wins for our community. So these I will send out afterwards as well. You're welcome to scan it if you are able to get the QR code, but I can send them out afterwards. I'd be remiss to mention too, the city of Santa Barbara just had their groundbreaking for the Housing Authority of the city of Santa Barbara's new housing development that will be at the former Quality Inn site on the corner of De La Vina and Upper State Street. So again, more housing for people who are formerly homeless. So we're really, really thrilled about that.
That's great.
All right. For the next slide, this is an upcoming event. I want to turn it over to Wayne Mellinger, who's on the call. So Wayne, if you want to share, that'd be great.
Yeah. So as you can see, we're going to have an event on Sunday, December 21st at 5:15 p.m. This is on the steps, not on the steps of the courthouse anymore, around the corner from that, under the archway. This is right across from our public library. I'm the founder of this event. I founded it 13 years ago. And that was at a time where we didn't quite know what was going on. One of the things that's really exciting about our COC now and everything is that we have lots of data. We have a good sense of what's going on, who's out there, who's dying, etc. There's a team called the Homeless Death Review that looks at our numbers and the causes every couple of years. And when I founded this event 13 years ago, we had 35 to 45 people dying every year. And that was very sad in itself, of course. The average age of death was 56 or 57, 25 years less than house people live. That's a crisis there, right? These are people that had some mental health issues, polysubstance users oftentimes. We found that their bodies were just shutting down at some point.
I already have Glenn's name on the cap.
So now, though, 13 years later, things have gotten a lot worse. 2 years ago, the Independent reported that there was 162 people that have died. That's 4 times the amount of people than what we had 13 years ago. So I see this as a huge crisis. One of the things I know that's going on and that affects those numbers is our opioid overdose crisis. I just lost a friend 2 weeks ago, someone that I did outreach with for about 12 weeks, died of a fentanyl overdose. This young man was psychotic oftentimes. All he had was the shirt on his back, didn't have food stamps, didn't have any service, didn't get much services, was in and out of jail a lot for petty little stuff. He would leave jail with 3 days worth of, Suboxone. Once that ran out, he needed his opiates. He was, an addict. Very sad. Anyway, that it's trying to stop things like that motivates me to do events like this. So anyway, all are invited to this event. Officials are certainly invited. We would love to see you there. This is where we honor those who have died the previous year while being unhoused. We have a reading of the names. This is a candlelight vigil. So we have, electric candles that we use. It's a interfaith event. We have clergy from all different types of clergy.
Hey, John, this is John.
So that is pretty much all I have to say. Landon, does that sound good?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah.
I put this link in the chat. Even if you can't attend the event, we also want to encourage people that if you know any names of people who may have passed away, or if you think you're connected to someone who might know names, please spread that link around, because we want to get as many of the names as we can so that we can honor the people. I see people like Gabby Dodson on this call. It'd be great if you could share that with your team, or even groups that don't necessarily work with people experiencing homelessness. Sometimes our neighbors experiencing homelessness are interacting with other services as well. So yeah, we would love to see any of you there. It's a really powerful event. All right, and then the last thing I want to mention before we really dive in is that we're going to be talking about some action items today that I'm putting on the screen in front of you now, just so you have a little preview of what's to come. You will see yellow boxes throughout today's presentation. And when you see a yellow box, that's a sign that it's an action item that we're really trying to encourage people to take on. Someone in the survey earlier had mentioned the emergency housing vouchers issue. We are going to talk about that today. That's one of our action items. So appreciate that you bringing that up. All right. So before we really dive into our South County Coalition, any questions, comments, or thoughts? All right, please feel free to jump in at any time. I'm going to pull the chat window up so I can see it. So I want to just mention again, in my work, I'm primarily focused on South Santa Barbara County. So that's what today's meeting is about, is this region that we find ourselves in. And so we have a coalition that has been going since 2019. It started as an initiative with just the city of Santa Barbara, and then in 2023 expanded to be throughout the entire South County region. So you can read a lot more about that group at the website that's listed there. That's also where you'll see all these action items we'll be talking about today. So I'm putting that in the chat again. You can see these are all the partners that are on our current steering committee for this Act on Homelessness Coalition. So we try to have a cross-sector partnership, meaning that we've got government agencies, we've got nonprofits, we've got business leaders, philanthropic leaders, and then we have people who've actually experienced homelessness that are on this steering committee as well. So SB Act serves as kind of the neutral convener. We're just here. It's shaped like a bike wheel because we're trying to keep the ball or keep the wheel turning. Not mix my metaphors on that one. So that's really the goal. So with that, this steering committee has helped to create a 3-year strategic plan. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, kind of where we're at with those goals, and then the action items that we want to discuss with you all. As we go through this too, I would love to really think through with you all what are other action items that you think would be pertinent for these goals, so that we can really make an impact together. So I'm not going to talk long about this, but just to say this has been a long process to build this strategic plan. We started it over a year ago and then finally launched the strategic plan in March of this year. So it's really supposed to go through December of 2027. So these are somewhat longer term goals. And so it'll take us a while before we get there. You can see the 4 goals here. There's a full long report you can read on the website if you're interested to kind of see everything fleshed out. But we have 4 key areas that we're focused on, and we're trying to attack homelessness from kind of all sides. So number 1 is prevention. We want to try and keep people from actually entering homelessness. So we want to increase the number of people that are diverted from homelessness by 15%. Number 2 is assisting. We want to support the people that are currently homeless and try and help them get off the streets. And we want to focus specifically on those with the highest acuity behavioral health needs. So we're talking about people with mental health diagnoses and substance use diagnoses. So we've created a list of the top 100 individuals with those needs, and we're trying to get at least a third of them off the streets over the next 3 years. Number 3, the third area we're focusing on is that once somebody gets housed, it's pretty tough to stay housed. We have a lot of people who end up back on the streets again for a variety of reasons. We're talking about people with really complex trauma. And so one of our goals is to reduce the number of people that are returning to homelessness once they get housed. And then finally, our last goal is really to kind of help influence public understandings and perceptions of homelessness. Somebody mentioned in the survey that it does seem like homelessness is growing, and in a sense that is true. And so because of that, we really need to be talking to the whole community, all of our neighbors, all of our business leaders, and figuring out how do we get everybody on the same page about what the solutions are that we're going to focus on. We really need a unified front if we're going to address this issue, because it's a tough one for our whole region. I will just touch on this since it came up in the questions about the actual increase in numbers of people experiencing homelessness. So you can see here the last 4 point in time counts. So this is kind of our annual, or now it's going to be biannual census of people experiencing homelessness, something required by the federal government. And it's not a perfect measure. I want to be really, really transparent about that. This is a count that happens over one night. So on that one night in January, how many people were experiencing homelessness? And the reality is much more complex than that, because that's only one night in January. Throughout the year, the numbers fluctuate quite a bit. You got people that leave the area, people get housed, some people pass away. There's a variety of reasons why the numbers shift. But we can get some general trends from these numbers. So you can see these are county-wide numbers. This is not just South County, but you can see from this bar chart that the numbers have generally grown since 2022 by a sizable number. The good news is that one of the numbers that's growing is the white bar, which is the number of people in shelters. That's a good thing, because that means that we are getting more people off the streets. The number of people that are unsheltered, the green bar, is actually decreasing. However, sorry, I meant the blue bar, not the white bar. However, the white bar shows a really troubling trend, which is an increase in vehicular homelessness. And that's been a huge increase. You can attribute that to a lot of things. Some of that is likely still an impact from the pandemic and some of the rising rents from the rapid inflation. And so we have more and more people that are moving into their vehicles as kind of their last measure. And so our county is committed to doing a full study of vehicular homelessness in early 2026. So we're really eager to see kind of what happens there and just sort of what information we can glean about this population. One thing that's tough And that I know Chuck from Goleta says a lot is that in talking to people in their vehicles, there's a large number of people who don't identify as homeless at all. And so for that reason, we're having a hard time getting them connected to services because they don't see themselves as in need of services for one reason or another. And we want to give people their autonomy in that, but also we're having to deal with the fact that there's then RVs and large vehicles throughout some of the neighborhoods that didn't used to see that. And so lots of changes in the works right now. And that's part of what we're going to be trying to address through our strategic plan goals. You can also see on the right side some of the trends by city over the last 3 to 4 years. So you can see general growth all around. So whoever put that in the survey, you are correct. It's not just your perception. This is a lot of info just on this slide alone. Any questions about this? All right. Just to keep moving. So let's talk about goal number 1, prevention. So this one is a work in progress. We have some staff from Good Samaritan that currently run a prevention, diversion, and retention hotline. I encourage you to check this out. If you know anybody who is at risk of losing their housing, it's really important that they know this phone number. And I don't know, Hilda, if you're able to pull that and maybe throw that in the chat for us. I don't have my browser right in front of me, but this is something that we're really working to try and expand in our county. So this is kind of, I'll have more updates to share probably at our next meeting. But I will say we are going to be hosting a Homelessness 101 training coming up in the new year. And I would encourage anybody, if you're kind of new to this issue and you feel like you want to just understand homelessness a little bit more and what causes it, this is a really good way to get started in the conversation about prevention. Because we can't really prevent something until we get what it is and where it's coming from. So I'm putting the link for that. Oh, apologies, that didn't quite come through. I'm going to redo that link in the chat. But that'll be a 1 hour or 1.5 hour just lunchtime training in January. So anyone is welcome. Thank you, Hilda. Any questions about prevention? All right. So let's talk about supporting or assisting those experiencing homelessness. So as I said, this goal, we've really focused on that list of the top 100 individuals with significant behavioral health needs. So these are the people who most likely you have seen. I bet everyone on this call has seen at least one of these people that's on our list. They're the people that are often the most visible. They're the people that are sometimes the most they're the most recognizable. They're the people that may be getting the police called on them more than others. And so these are the people that we're really trying to focus on, because we know that if we can help these people to figure out what it is that they need, that we're going to see a pretty significant impact. That would make a big difference for a lot of us throughout South County. So you can see this is kind of the general breakdown. We tried to make sure that we were finding people who were throughout the entire region. We didn't want it to only be the city of Santa Barbara, for example. So we tried to make it proportional to how many people are actually experiencing homelessness in each region throughout South County. So we worked with many of you on this call, as well as city staff from the various cities, as well as nonprofits, to try and identify that list. And you can see that a number of these people, almost half, are currently enrolled with a service provider. So that's a good thing. About 47 of these individuals, I guess, are currently connected to a nonprofit. We would like to get the other 53 individuals connected as well. So here's our goal progress to date. So since we launched this goal back in early 2025, we have seen 11 of these people get into permanent housing. So this is great. And that's a starting point. To be clear, as I mentioned earlier, it's pretty easy sometimes for people to fall out of permanent housing. So we're not counting this as a win and just yet, but they're there now, and that's good. We've also seen 25 of these people get into interim housing. So we are on track with our goal. The The problem or the challenge will be now helping these people to stay in housing. We really want these people to have the supports they need so that they can remain off the streets. And that's going to require a lot of supportive services. So that's where we're at as of today. Any questions about this?
I have one. Is there a way to know who are the identified individuals? I think at the Wellness Center and the Fellowship Club, we do get a lot of people every day. So if we can collaborate anyway, we'd be really happy to do so.
Yeah, that's great. Right now, the list is all using the homeless management information system. So it just depends on if you have somebody who's authorized to access. Okay. So I will say, though, you can still recommend names. We have a couple people, you can see those little skinny pie slices that we have a couple people who passed away, and we have a couple people who moved out of the area as well. So there's a couple slots that have opened up on the list. So I would maybe I'll just make a note to email you after this and we can see if we can get some name recommendations.
Yeah, any way we can collaborate, because we see about 80 people a day. So I think there might be some Venn diagram connections there.
I'm sure there are. I wouldn't be surprised if you give us some names and they already end up being on the list.
Love to be of help.
Thank you. Another helpful thing just for everyone on this call to do, this is your action item from this particular goal, is to help spread the word about the warming centers. So I think many of you are familiar with this, that during the cold season, our county and Good Samaritan work together to open up faith communities throughout the county on nights when either it's 50% or more chance of rain or 35 degrees or lower, so that people have a warm place to sleep that night. And so you can get connected by emailing the email address that's listed there, or you can call the hotline on any given day. I can send out this flyer. Thank you for asking. Send out the flyer. You can call that hotline on any given day, and you'll hear a pre-recorded message stating whether the warming centers are open or not that day. Why this is helpful for this goal is that warming centers are a good way for us to connect with clients. So some of these people on this top 100 list that we're talking about are people that are really hard for our service providers to actually find at times, or have a conversation with. So when you have the warming centers, it's a really good opportunity to try and connect with people who we might not always see. So it helps if you spread the word. I will share out this flyer. Please send it to your network, send it to your faith community, send it to your social club, send it to your work. Anybody who you think might benefit from just having this information, we want it to go to them. Right. Any other questions? Also make a plug. I forgot to state, Hilda put in the chat the phone number, the homelessness prevention phone number. Again, that's for anyone who is experiencing fears or insecurities about their housing status and worried they might lose it. Please share this number with them. This is countywide. All right, let's move on to goal number 3. So again, this goal is focused on helping to retain people in their housing. So as of right now in South County, this is not a perfect measure, but as far as we can surmise, there's about 49 people every year that end up back on the streets after they've already been housed. So our goal is to reduce that by 25%. So we'd like to get to 37 per year or fewer. One thing that's interesting to note is that out of these individuals, 90% of them had moved into housing without any supportive services. So what we take away from this is that the people who move into housing and they have supportive services connected to that housing, like they have, maybe it's a case manager connected with them through their housing. Maybe they have drug and alcohol treatment. Maybe they have support groups, whatever it might be. Those things are actually really effective in helping people stay housed. So the people that we're talking about are people who maybe they got into a private apartment, they're using a housing voucher with just a private landlord, and that was it. They didn't have any other supports outside of that. So that's really what we're trying to focus on. Any questions about this in general? So big action item related to this. I don't know if we have anyone from the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara on the call, but if you do, please chime in. If you are here, please chime in. So at the federal level, the emergency housing voucher program is being cut pretty significantly. So right now, the emergency housing vouchers ensure housing for over 200 households and more than 340 people in our county. So you can see the breakdown over on this side. So this is only one type of housing voucher. I'm not going to go into all the specifics, but this is one that was launched in 2020 and we were hoping would be extended through 2030. That was the plan. It was a 10-year voucher. However, that's been cut. So it's now slated to end December 2026. So what that means is that we have about 200 households or over 200 households that potentially could lose their housing because the housing voucher is what's currently subsidizing them being housed. So this is a big deal. And we're not getting that money from the federal government. So the call to action that both of our county and city of Santa Barbara housing authorities are asking is for anyone to call our elected representatives at the county and state level to see if we can try to get funding to keep the EHV program going. We really want to try and prevent these households from falling back into homelessness. Our goal, you can see in the red box at the top, our goal was to reduce the number of people who are falling back into homelessness. This has the potential to actually increase the number of people falling back into homelessness. So we want to do everything within our power to prevent that from happening. Pat, I don't know if you're able to talk, but if you wanted to say anything to this as well, since I know you're very intimately involved with the Housing Authority. She may not be able to speak to it today.
Okay, sorry. This is Pat Wheatley. I'm chair of the Housing Authority, City of Santa Barbara. Landon said it beautifully. We need to come up with alternative funding to maintain these individuals in safe and affordable living situations, most of which are also including supportive services. So it's going to take a combination of our local municipalities as well as state money, because it isn't going to come from the feds. So we are looking at potential changes in regulations from HUD that are going to impact this being one of the most imminent. And so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm sorry I'm on my phone because I'm on the road. But so chat isn't working real well for me right now. But if you want to let Landon know, or if you just want to say something right now, I'm happy to help you in any way I can.
Can you say the numbers again of how many people in our community are going to lose their voucher?
Landon, do you have that figure in front of you?
I do. Yeah, let me pull that slide back up. So we're looking at 223 total households and 349 total household members. So I'm putting in the chat.
Yeah,
that's
a combined county figure, county and city.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just to go back to thinking about the point in time count numbers, last year or this year, 2025, the total count for Santa Barbara County was 2,100. So if God forbid every single one of these households were to lose their housing voucher and end up back on the streets, we'd be looking at more than a 10%, maybe 15% growth in homelessness just from this alone, which that would impact all of us. So I put in the chat the link. You can view this full flyer from the housing authorities. It also has the link that was listed there that has their housing advocacy page. Go ahead, Gina.
So another prevention strategy is to push for ordinances like a rent stabilization ordinance here. We can do that. We can have this done in our own city, and that would keep people housed and not being priced out and pushed into homelessness. So that's another preventive measure right there.
Thanks, Gina. yeah, there's a lot of different kind of action items right now around homelessness prevention. Okay, any other questions about this? I'd say if there's one action item you're taking away from today, this is probably the biggest one. So I really want to encourage everybody to help us move on this. All right, last goal is around public perceptions of homelessness. So there is a study published by Clemson University called the Attitudes Towards Homelessness Inventory. And so we reached out to South County leaders, so specifically elected officials in South County, the business leaders throughout South County, and philanthropic organization leaders throughout South County to ask them to fill out the survey, just so we could get a general sense of how do our leaders in this community view homelessness issues. I will say that the term attitudes towards homelessness is a little misleading. Really, the survey gets at a little bit more of sort of how they understand homelessness. It's not necessarily just how do I feel about homelessness. And we'll dig into that. But I will just say overall, it's a scale of 1 to 7. Our leaders scored 4.66 on average. So over the halfway point, we'd like to get them higher than that. And then let's dig into this a little bit, because this survey gets at a lot. It gets at how do you understand homelessness? Is it just the individual person's fault? Do you think that it's actually a structural issue? Do you feel like you are personally connected to homelessness? Like you could understand how someone could become homeless. You could even understand how you could become homeless. And then the last item is at the tip of my tongue, and I'm not remembering it, but it'll come to me. So the lowest scores of our leaders in this community were specifically around affiliation, which is that sense of I am personally connected to homelessness. So some of the survey questions were things like, I would feel comfortable sharing a meal with someone who is currently homeless, or I could see how I could become homeless myself. So that's going to be a big focus for us over these next couple of years, is how do we sort of build that personal connection? How do we get people to really feel that homelessness is not just these other people out there, that this is really our neighbors, and these are people who we are all connected to. Our elected officials had the highest scores across the board. We had almost all of our city council members and board of supervisors, our supervisors, fill out the survey, and they had some of the strongest understandings of how homelessness works and strongest senses of affiliation. Higher age tended to be correlated with lower scores. And so there could be a lot of explanations for that, but that's just interesting to note as we think about the demographics that we're trying to target with messaging. And then renters tended to have higher scores, meaning kind of better understandings of homelessness than homeowners did. So again, it just speaks to this maybe need to focus some of our messaging to certain demographics more than others. So this is just a kind of a smattering of some of the survey results. There's a lot here, and I think it's kind of a very potent topic. Any questions or thoughts on this? So one of our goals is to try and increase these scores by 20%, right? So we're trying to get us from whatever I said, 4.66 up, just 20% from that. So we're going to be working on a lot of different messaging campaigns, and really whether it's some kind of events where we can really try and build relationships so we can strengthen that sense of affiliation between people. And this is one that I really would like community help in. I think we need to know how should we go about this. So I encourage you, if this strikes your fancy at all, if you're at all interested in being a part of this conversation, we're going to host an advocacy community discussion to try and figure out what are some good strategies for us to try and help promote better understandings of homelessness in our community. That link, which I'll put in the chat window again, you can sign up, you can share your availability so that we can try and find a time to meet and have this advocacy discussion. But I encourage everybody, if you're interested, to come check it out. All right, any questions about that before I move on? Okay. So in terms of strategies, we have quite a bit of other strategies that we are working on in the back end, and a lot of these are really specific to service providers. And so I just want you to know, the things that were mentioned today, these are not the only things that are going on. We have a lot of different resources that are at our fingertips that we're trying to use to try to push all of these goals forward. Encourage you to go to that website again, even just to read up on the strategic plan. It has the full list of all the different strategies we're hoping to undertake. But really, we welcome your input on this. This is something where we want ideas from the community about how we can address each of these different issue areas. So again, those 4 action items that we're suggesting today. For prevention, we encourage you to educate yourself. Come to a Homelessness 101 training. All of these, you can sign up for any of these at the AOH website that I just posted in the chat. Goal number 2, please help us to spread the word about the warming centers so that we can connect with more of our clients. Goal number 3, contacting your representatives to ask them to help fund the emergency housing vouchers program. And then goal number 4 is to attend an advocacy community discussion. So these are a few ideas of ways that any of you all can get involved. But I also just want to open it up and see if there's any other suggestions from the community, maybe things that we're not looking at that you think we should be looking at. I'd love to open it up for that. Any just general questions, comments, or input on this? This is an ongoing conversation as well. So I just encourage you to please keep in touch with us even after today.
I appreciate having the 4 kind of main focus, because this is such a huge topic that we can go in different areas. So thank you for the concise focus for advocacy and education.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I will say, just looking at the 4 goals too, I want to be clear with everybody. Nowhere on here do you see the goal, build more housing. And that is a really important goal. Since this is just a 3-year strategic plan, we don't have that piece in here. But I think these goals would actually help us to kind of make a big dent, especially in some of our community's perceptions of homelessness. And so that could help us to get the political will that we need to do some of the bigger goals like building housing. All right. So as we wrap up, I just want to remind everybody again about these upcoming events. I do see this question about vouchers for hotels during rain or cold nights. Unfortunately not, but we do, there is the warming centers, and then there are sometimes availability at what was formerly Path Shelter. And so we'll see kind of whether Mercy House is able to keep doing that kind of expanded capacity during cold nights.
Landon, I'm sorry to bother. To continue on my question, it's because 211 gets a lot of calls for vouchers or like hotel nights for folks who know that either the shelters are at full capacity, or they've called and they've tried, or they have small children and cannot get to a shelter. So this is why I'm asking this question, because 211 gets plenty of calls, especially this past rainy days in, what was it, October? We had a bunch of calls.
No, that's a fair question. I don't know if I have a good answer. The families is one of the hardest things, because right now our only family shelter in town is the transition house, and they consistently will have a waiting list. And the other hard piece about hotels too is that really that will often require like flexible funding, like having kind of disposable funds that we can use for that. And a lot of the agencies that work on homelessness, we don't have flexible funding. We have funding that's tied to specific things, whether it's this number of shelter beds or this number of people getting this specific service. And so that's always going to be a need.
Thank you. Just thought I asked.
A suggestion for helping the community understand the problems and what's available for homeless people is to have a list of speakers that are willing to come to community groups to speak about that.
Yeah, I like that. We've had a few times that faith communities have reached out to host like a homelessness 101 training, and we're always glad to do that sort of a thing as well. If anyone's, part of a community organization that you think would benefit from that or be interested, especially like groups that are impacted by homelessness. Like we've had like a church reach out to say, hey, we often have someone sleeping on our property. What should we do? That's definitely a great inroad for us to then have this broader conversation. So please, everyone, keep us in your thoughts for that kind of opportunity as well. Good way to spread education.
Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else for right now, I can close us. I'll just say thank you again for being here. Thanks for taking time in a very busy time of year to listen to me talk, but also just to be a part of this conversation. This is not fun stuff, and we're not in a fun time for homelessness. This is a growing issue, especially in our area. And with some of the cuts that we're seeing at the federal level, it's going to be a big challenge ahead for all of us. So please stay connected. We will have another community meeting coming up in the Q1 of next year. And we encourage you to join us at the various events that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. So with that, I'll say thanks, everybody.